Today we're joined by Ray Moranz with the Xerces Society. And if you're not familiar with the Xerces Society, Ray, do you mind telling us a little bit about it first before we get into some of the other subjects?
I am happy to. The Xerces Society is a nonprofit organization based in Portland, Oregon, and we're all about saving invertebrates, meaning insects, crayfish, spiders, things like that, the little creatures that make the world run. And we have staff in many, many states. I'm our representative for Oklahoma, and my specialty is pollinators. But yeah, we work to save the little creatures of the planet.
Because they're so important, right? I mean, they do so many things that we just take for granted a lot of times.
Absolutely. Obviously, pollinators are necessary to keep our flowers happy so that they can produce seeds, so our vegetable plants can produce tomatoes and peppers, so our fruit trees can make apples and oranges. And then we've got dung beetles out on the ranches. You've got a ranch.
Yeah,
you need dung beetles to get rid of the dung.
Absolutely. They're doing that natural composting process for us.
That's right.
So today we're talking about pollinators, and we're standing next to one of our favorite plants here at the garden. We've got several different milkweeds, but the most obvious one is this common milkweed. Let's talk a little bit about just milkweeds in general and incorporating them into your garden.
Sure. I'm a huge fan of milkweeds. I think I have 12 species at home. Oklahoma has 30 species of milkweeds, so I'll be getting more. This is one of the most well-known species. This is called common milkweed. And why do we care about milkweeds? Well, obviously, for those who are into butterflies, monarch butterflies lay their eggs on milkweed plants, and only on milkweed plants. If you don't have milkweeds, you're not going to have monarch caterpillars. But secondly, the flowers tend to be really, really good for pollinators in general. And these flowers here have two small butterflies on them. And one of them, the one slightly farther away from my finger, is actually quite rare.
That one flying there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Dion skipper. And this is only the second or third one I've ever seen in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
So it's very special to have it here. But that's an example of how great of a resource milkweeds can be for pollinators. And it's not just butterflies, bees, flies, beetles, which are all pollinators.
Yeah, we've got all sorts of things flying all around us here. And not to mention a showy plant, obviously, with both the texture, but also the flower as well. Yeah. Now, there is one other little guy on this. Let's talk about the milkweed aphid for a minute.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's this little yellow aphid, and there's not just one, there are a few hundred, and that's quite normal. It's hard to avoid. Now, you can squash them, and if you only had one or two milkweed plants, you might want to do that, or you can wash them with soap and water. I tend to leave them be because I have a lot of milkweed plants. And I don't want to take the time to squash them. And if you leave them be, then the natural predators of the aphids will eventually kick into gear and eat them up. And on this plant, we saw one of the natural predators. Now, ladybugs are natural predators, both as adults and as larvae, also lacewings and lacewing larvae. And you'll actually see the populations of these natural predators build up during the course of the summer as they gobble up the aphids.
Well, we got a little bit of food for those predator insects to come on in here. So, but that's not a problem. It's okay to have the aphids. It's typical what you'll find. That doesn't deter the monarch or anything?
It does not deter the monarch, especially on a big plant.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Now, if you have a little seed, if you're growing milkweeds from seeds and you have a seedling that's coated with them, I might go ahead and rub those aphids off.
It's going to hurt the health of that plant being
That's
so
right,
small.
if it's a little seedling.
Yeah.
But big plants like this be just fine.
So when we talk, this is a perennial milkweed, and you mentioned there's about 30 different types here in Oklahoma that are native, but a lot of times people buy non-native milkweeds. Can we talk about some of the differences between buying native and non-native milkweeds?
Absolutely. I strongly encourage people to buy the native milkweeds. They're not as easy to find, but they are becoming easier to find. The native ones are all perennials. The native ones have been here for many, many years. They belong here. And the bees and the butterflies love them. The exotic ones, including tropical milkweed, are annuals. They've just come here, and it could be that they might start to invade our landscape and cause problems. And we don't want tropical milkweed to become another nasty plant that takes over.
Now, there's been some talk about a parasite that might be on some of those tropicals. Is that a concern here in Oklahoma, or at this point most tropicals die back? So where are we at with that OE parasite that might be on some of the tropical milkweeds?
Yeah, there's a parasite, a protozoan parasite called OE. OE is short for Xerces electroscura. And that's natural and native to the U.S., and our milkweeds have it, but seemingly to a less degree than the tropical milkweed. And the fact that they go dormant and their foliage doesn't last quite as long. The populations of the OE build up during the course of the summer, particularly on tropical milkweed, and into the fall. The fact that it dies in winter here is actually a good thing. That plant is most problematic in Florida, California, Texas. Deep south.
So we don't have to worry about that too much just yet.
I still worry a little bit about it,
yeah.
but I don't plant it in part for that reason.
And what about when we're buying these milkweeds from nurseries? Because, you know, we don't know how they've been treated prior to us getting them. Do we need to be concerned or talk to our vendors when we're buying this milkweed that could be, any pesticides could be harmful?
Yeah, that's a good idea with milkweeds and with any plants that you're planting for bees and butterflies. The Xerces Society has published some studies recently showing that some of the milkweeds that we're getting from nurseries have high enough levels of insecticide to kill the caterpillars. So yes, it's a good idea to talk to your nurseries, to your vendors, to find out if the plants are being treated.
All right, so buy native if you can, obviously, and then also make sure you're getting it from a reputable vendor as well.
Yep.
So thank you so much, Ray, for sharing this information with us. We appreciate all that you guys are doing over there to protect our insects.
My great pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.